From the Subaru of Gwinnett studio, welcome to Celebrating Powerhouse Women. Celebrating Powerhouse Women is proudly presented by NEMA and Sourced.
Good morning, folks. I hope everyone's doing well out there. I am your host, Amanda Pierce Marmolejo, and this is Celebrating Powerhouse Women. You know, this is the series that salutes and recognizes women leaders making an impact in our community. Today, I am joined in studio by a friend and community member here, Katrina Lucisano, and she is with Silverton Mortgage, and we're going to learn all about Katrina's road to success within the mortgage industry and kind of deep dive into some fun type of personal development topics, if that's okay with you. Welcome, yes. Katrina.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, why don't you tell our listeners just a little bit about what you do for Silverton Mortgage?
Okay. So for Silverton Mortgage, I am a mortgage loan officer, which basically means that I go out and secure mortgages for buyers, sellers. With that, I have to be able to qualify them based on their income, their credit, their assets. And I have to know all the products. I have to be able to search through various lenders for interest rates, see which is going to work best for that person, and then make sure that that person is comfortable with their payment, with what their cash to close is, and then ultimately be able to give them a formal approval letter so that they can put an offer on a home that they have selected with a real estate agent, and then show up at closing with the check.
Nice. So you're the lady that everyone wants to see.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And, you know, last year was the first time that I experienced buying a home myself. And I must say that I wish that I would have considered you as an option then. I think I shared that with you at the time, because my loan experience was far different. It sounds like you are a natural educator and that you care about the core of the family or person that you're assisting with their home buy. I kind of felt like I was that 16-digit number in this person's system. Mm-hmm. So I tip my hat to you for that personalized level of service.
Yes, thank you.
What inspired you to get into the mortgage industry?
Wow. So that's a big question. So first of all, I came from a dairy farm, one stoplight town, 300 acres. We had 100 Holstein cows. And I had horses. I showed horses. And then senior year, my horse got hurt, and I wasn't able to ride her any longer. So we ended up, I said to my parents, I want to go to college, and it was only 135 in my graduating class.
Wow.
And they were like, you're not going to college. You just need to marry a dairy farmer. And so I said, well, I'm going to fill out the paperwork and talk to the guidance counselor and see what I can do. Well, the guidance counselor had me take a test and the ACT, and I guess I found out I was good in math. So I ended up filling out the application. I got in college, and back then, and this is over 30 years ago, back then a 2-year degree was equivalent of today's 4-year degree. So I started in accounting and business. And then after that, I thought, I'm going to set the world on fire, and went back to my one stoplight town. Of course, there's no jobs there.
What town is this?
Boonville, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boonville, New York.
It's called Boonville, New York. Yeah, yeah.
If you would have said like one of the Carolinas, that would have like flown out naturally, but New York.
Yeah.
I wonder if our producer Mike's familiar with Boonville, New York. He's from the north as well.
Yeah, it's Utica, Watertown area in upstate New York.
Interesting.
So, yep.
And continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. So then after trying to find a job, I went to Rochester, New York, and then ended up in the insurance field at Prudential Insurance Company, and that's where I met my husband. And then the recession hit in 1992, so we literally picked a map out, and we said, where would be a good place, where it's warmer, because at that point we had 3 kids, and the 2 girls were still in winter coats for their Easter Sunday Mass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we ended up picking Atlanta, and we moved here, didn't know a soul.
Huh.
And my husband went right back into, or stayed in the insurance side, and then he said, why don't you get into the mortgage side? He had a good friend in Rochester that had his own mortgage company. And he said, I think you'd be great. It's very similar to insurance, financial services. Mm-hmm. I was already selling. Selling to me is not selling, it's just presenting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you do have to, get out there and explain it. But yeah, so I got into the mortgage side. I worked for 6 different companies for 2 years, learned everything I could, from learning how to process, how to underwrite, how to clothes alone, just everything I could. And then I ended up, my husband and I both started our own companies. He did an insurance company in 1995, and I did my Family First Mortgage, a mortgage broker shop.
Were you guys able to, I'm going to use a term that is relevant in my world, but feeder business. So between insurance and mortgage, were you guys able to, I mean, obviously at least refer clients.
Yeah.
But were you able to assist each other's businesses in any way?
Yeah, so my husband was very good at recognizing if somebody needed a mortgage or always bringing my name up. But he was in the health and life and disability part of insurance. So for me, it wasn't as natural because I was looking more at the P&C lenders for auto and the homeowners. So, yeah, he was very good at that, though.
I want to rewind really quickly because you skated over this dairy farm like it's something that is ordinary. To me, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of work in
Yes.
your youth.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us a little bit about your experience growing up on a dairy farm and maybe some of the responsibilities and some of the like skills that you learned. I mean, obviously fortitude, and
Yeah.
grit, and just kind of how that translates into what you are and what you do today.
Yeah, I think I'm still an excellent cook, I like to think. So growing up on a farm, we raised our own vegetables. We had our own beef cows for beef. We raised our own pork with pigs.
So you couldn't befriend any of the animals.
I know. We didn't even think anything of it, though.
Right.
It was just life,
Right.
For our milk, we just went out to the milk house with our milk pitcher, put it right in the milk tank and filled it up. We would go to the dairy co-op where our milk was sent to.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the milk still up in that area goes to Philly. It makes Philly cream cheese. There's a big
Wow.
craft plant near my parents.
I love Philadelphia cream
Yeah,
cheese.
yeah,
It's a holiday
yeah.
favorite.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Do your parents still own the farm? Or are they still
So
with
they
us?
do. They're still there. Yeah.
Oh,
Now
wow.
the cows, they've had to move on with those because milk prices
Katrina,
went down.
You really missed out.
Yeah,
They had to move.
Yeah. Moo. Yes.
There you go.
But they still have the same place. So I just love it. I took my two youngers up there for New Year's, and oh my gosh, to have just go to the dairy co-op, and we picked out cheeses, and there's over 100 kinds of cheddar cheeses, if you can believe that.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
So this farm was how your family sustained themselves.
Completely.
A completely
Yes.
working farm.
Mhm.
So now you said that they've sold the majority of the animals. I assume that your
Yes.
parents are retired and
Yes.
they've maintained the homestead.
Yes.
Would you envision, obviously, that has a little bit of sentimental value there. Is that something that you guys would aim to keep in the family?
So my sister and her husband farmed it with my parents for, I guess, probably almost 25 years. And they made a succession plan to be able to purchase it from my parents and then basically pay my parents sort of an annuity, you would call it. So I know that they'll want to keep it eventually after something happens to my parents. My parents are 81 and 83 now. But they're still in great shape, and
Sure.
the house is immaculate. It's from 1900. So yeah, my mother has just my mother is the one who does not stop. So I probably got that from her. She did all the books, all her own taxes. She was out in the barn. She did all the feeding of the cows, all their supplements. They had to have proteins. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never think about, well, obviously animals need veterinary care.
Yeah.
But you as a farmer would need to be able to provide at least a certain array of basic, type things. Otherwise, you're going to have a vet out there and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So talking about this, it actually makes me think that my mother was a powerhouse.
Yes.
Or is one. And actually my grandmother as well. Her mother. So my grandmother had 10 children, worked at the age of 14 to go to the local high school that her father wanted her to go to. She had to go live with another family and wear a maid's outfit. And that diploma is still on, I think it's my mom's house in there.
On the wall.
Yep,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, so you think that just because you're not your stereotype with a degree, that's why my mom felt so passionate that why do you need to go get this degree? Like, you can be successful and, whatever you choose, look at us, we're successful.
You bring me to a good point. I was going to ask you about maybe some people that have been influential in your world. And our listeners can't see you, but I'm going to say, because I know you well enough, it would appear that in the last few sentences that you feel strongly about something that we've talked about, because you look kind of like an emotional chord was struck. So share with us, is that just because you're remembering your grandmother and how much of a positive impact your mom had in your world, or share with us that feeling?
I think when you're in it, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't even think about it. You just did it. Actually, when I was 14, my mother said, okay, Fran Gaylord at this Pioneer Ski Lodge needs you to come over and help work. Well, okay, fine. 5 o'clock in the morning, I would go not before school, it was vacation, so there was a ski resort there. And we just didn't think anything of it. You just did it. So there wasn't ever a difference. And actually, I was going to say that there's no difference to me of a man and a woman. It's just y'all conquer and divide. Everybody just, like in a household. You're going to do that? Okay, fine, I'll do this. We didn't ever divide up anything per se. What came to us naturally is what we did. Like, I did not like doing the outdoor work, so I did all the cooking inside. My mom loves doing outdoor stuff, so it's very interesting.
And you mentioned before your sister. So how many are just you and your sister?
So I'm one of 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a brother who's a year older, and then me, and then a brother a year younger, 9 years, and then a sister, 3 years, another sister. That's the sister who took over the farm. And then 9 years, and a brother who actually also was a dairy farmer. And he ended up selling his cows about 3 years ago and moved out here to Houston. So he's
here in Georgia,
so
too.
he's taken his skills that he learned from the farm, how to work long hours and not whine about it. And he now has taken his employer out, Bobcat of Athens, to a huge level of production where it's like 3 stores open now. It's crazy what he's done.
Wow.
And my sister-in-law the same. Very, very successful.
Now, is it just you and your brother here in Georgia? Is the remainder of your family in New York
They
still?
are, yes. Yep. Yeah, so we get to see them when we go up. So my parents live literally on this east road, and then with walking distance on one side is the 9 years younger sister, and on the other side is my other sister.
Wow.
And they both work full-time as well, along with their husbands. My one sister has 6 kids. Yeah, I have 5. And then my other sister has 3. So, yeah.
Well, I would say it doesn't hold true to you because you don't have the farm, but your parents needed to have at least 6 kids because they needed help with all the responsibilities.
You're absolutely right.
That's fun. And you said that you have 3 children as well.
I have 5.
5, excuse me.
Yeah,
I don't know where 3 came from. And ranging in what age?
So I have from 37 to 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So the 18-year-old has graduated from high school?
Yeah, he's a freshman at Georgia State, and then I have a junior at Georgia, and then a 31-year-old in Toronto. He's married, and then a 33-year-old who is just got engaged.
Aww.
So we're going to have her engagement party tomorrow.
How exciting.
Yeah, I have to go home and bake massive amounts of cookies.
Oh, yeah. Isn't baking fun, though?
It is.
I
love it.
A little bit of
It's my
relaxation.
therapy. Yeah, I don't look at it. Even cleaning, that doesn't bother me.
Me either. I get a feeling of fulfillment, actually, out of cleaning.
Yeah.
Do you measure your ingredients, like, literally with...
Close enough. My grandmother was, close enough, But I know, you have to keep somewhat. If you're going to add a little more flour, you better add a little more sugar, or, vice versa. A little more butter, whatever you need to.
Totally bizarre and unrelated, but I remember my mom would sometimes put applesauce in cake to make it, like, moist, and it just tasted so good.
My sister-in-law does that.
Yeah, just a little floop of applesauce.
Little secret. They have these Cortland apples in downstate New York. And they were developed at Cornell University, I think it was. But it's a cross of a Macintosh and I can't think of the other brand. But it's called Cortland. They make the best homemade applesauce. Ooh. So for $43, I just had a half a bushel sent to me literally last week. I've been doing it every year from a place in downstate. And you just throw them all in a big pan. They cook down. And then I have a little pureer. It just runs through the pureer. So now I have enough applesauce to last me for the year in my freezer.
Did you just put it in like a mason jar?
No, I freeze it.
Canned it?
I tried it. My sister-in-law cans it. I don't like canning. I like it frozen better. So I just get a little
like a Tupperware.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, my grandkids love it.
Do you put the whole core and everything through there?
The whole everything. It literally cooks down, and the skin is a reddish color, so the applesauce comes out a pink. Nice. And it's all you have to do is add sugar for your sweetness, and that's it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think I would add a little sprinkle of cinnamon and leave
my mother does that. Yeah.
Apple as is. I prefer less sweet things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what would you say one of the most valuable lessons, other than one that you've just expressed, that you learned on the farm that you've been able to carry on in life as a whole?
we grew up so optimistic there, and just very close to nature. So obviously, so I very much need to walk, whether I hopefully can walk every day. I used to run a lot every day. It's a little cold right now. But just to get out there, if I even have lunch and just look up at the sky and just try to reset myself of I'm very small in this world. I'm very insignificant. So that just keeps me, I think, grounded and humble, to realize that I'm one of many and we're all just trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
I like that. We're one of many.
Yeah.
It's really easy to kind of get absorbed in the day to day. I've heard a lot of people reference, being grounded.
Yeah.
Like even taking off your shoes and just standing on the literal grass and feeling,
Yes.
the elements beneath your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Now you touched on something, and I will brag on you for a minute. It escapes me the year. I'll say about 3 years ago, Team Gwinnett Business RadioX did the button down dash.
Yes.
And you won first place
Yep.
in your age category. Yep. She just says, I used to run. No, okay, so share with us your passion. Are you a marathon runner? Obviously, you're a 5K runner.
Yeah.
Are you a 10K runner?
I try to use my time wisely. And back when my 20-year-old was doing travel soccer over at Pickneyville Park in Norcross, there was this, nice trail through the woods. And I would see all these other women running, like on The Office, how Michael Shirley's like, oh, yeah, and she's a runner. So I was like, well, maybe I could do this. So I had to go buy a sports bra. I didn't have one, get running shoes. And oh my gosh, I just started speed walking. And then my first mile I thought I was going to die. And I just kind of kept continuing it just to, again, fill up that time and be out in nature. And it's unbelievable how when you do it for that long, you just build up your stamina. And I find that my body hurts if I don't exercise now.
Very nice.
So, and then I know someday I might not be able to. Like I have a client now I'm doing a loan for. She's 78, I think, 80. And she just had to have knee replacement. And that's what she said was, maybe all those years of doing the marathons, have caught up with me. So I'm trying to look at that. Like, don't beat yourself up. Yes, if you want those 3 pieces of chocolate, go for it.
Yeah.
And if you can only get a little walk in today, so what? Or if you can't, don't worry about it, Because I was very OCD, like, okay, I've got to do this at this time. But I've tried to work on that.
That's really cool how you were never a runner before.
Yeah.
And then you just picked it up. I'm very same like mind as you. I like to use my time wisely.
Yeah.
If there's anything else I can be doing while I'm doing something else, I'm all about it.
Right.
So that grew into you becoming the first in your age category.
Yes.
What's the last 5K that you participated in?
Oh my gosh, that was it. That
Was
was
it?
my only one.
Katrina.
Because then you got to get there at 6 o'clock in the
I know, on
morning.
Saturday.
It's too much time. You see what I'm saying?
Katrina, so I've only done the one and I took first place.
Yeah.
I'm hanging up
Well, that little 10-year-old girl was passing me. I was not about to let her pass me. Heck no.
Kicked it up into
I did too.
fifth gear.
The
That's
chamber
amazing.
people were cheering her on. I was like, look at me. I'm like 58. Look
Did
at me.
you like long jump across the finish line?
I had to run so fast. I didn't realize that. I probably had it by a good bit, but and last year I was going to, but then I forget. I think I was at my parents'. So this year hopefully I'll be able to get out there and.
Well, I'll have to tell you, I participate in one in Forsyth as well, and it's actually called the Boulder Dash.
Ooh.
So it's done in a quarry. I can never say that word. Quarry,
Yeah,
a rock
quarry.
quarry.
Yeah.
So it's the terrain is quite mountainous,
wow.
I'll say. It might pose a bit of a challenge. I know I'm sucking wind when I'm going up those hills.
Yes.
So.
I'm thinking I don't want to be like my horse and step on a stone and get a shin splint. Then I could be put to pasture.
Katrina, I could talk to you about 5Ks and horses all day.
Yeah.
But after a word from our sponsors, we're going to kind of take a different turn.
Okay.
So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
NEMA is a full-service logistics company that provides trucking, warehousing, and expedited deliveries for the paper machine clothing industry. They offer a full line of services, including delivery within the 48 contiguous states, Canada, and Mexico, plus importing and exporting, air freight forwarding services, foreign trade zone warehousing, and many more services to handle your global logistics needs. NEMA is a proud sponsor of the Celebrating Powerhouse Women podcast series.
We know running a business is hard. There are so many things that need to get done, and you don't have the time, the resources, the experience, or you just don't want to do it yourself. At Sourced, we have your back. Office. We support leaders of companies with all their back office challenges that weigh them down. Whether it's accounting, talent acquisition, administrative support, marketing, or human resources, our team of experts at Sourced will make your life easy and your back office effortless. To see how we can help you, check us out at getsourced.com.
And hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Celebrating Powerhouse Women. I am your enthusiastic host, Amanda Pirch-Marmolejo, and I am joined by Katrina Lucisano here today. Before the break, we were kind of talking about a lot of fun stuff. I'd like to just kind of deep dive really quickly. You mentioned being a mother. You mentioned being married. Share a little bit about your family and about some of the things that have occurred here as of late.
Yeah. So I am, like I said, one of 6. My husband is one of 3. And so with 5 children, ages 37 to 18, we had, and my husband he was an insurance agent. So my husband and his family, they're all very healthy with the exception of, on his mom's side, there were some heart things, high blood pressure. But fast forward, his father had passed away in 2019. He was going to be 87 and just had, his heart just slowed down. Then fast forward to 2021 now, March of 2021, and his mom had passed away. So my husband was the executor, and being that he did all the insurance, they were up in Rochester, New York still. So Bob went up there. Of course, we were all up there March, and then Bob stayed longer. And he and his brother and sister got the house organized. They ended up listing it, selling it. Fast forward in June, my husband started saying that his back had hurt. Well, I would say to him, like, why aren't you're not standing up straight, And he was like, I am. And I was like, gosh, it just seems like you're always slouching. No wonder your back hurts. And then we had gone up to my parents that July 4th. And when we were up there, he said, gosh, I just feel this pain in my stomach. And I said, well, go back, get a physical. He never sick a day in his life, never took any medication, nothing. He was 63. And so he went to a regular doctor. Blood works all fine, no problem. Your kidney level's a little elevated. Go see a kidney doctor. So he went to the kidney doctor. And then they did a scan, and it turns out he had, at that point, 3 spots, cancerous spots on his liver and 1 on his pancreas. So he came home, and I just, no, this could not be happening to me. It's a dream, And he, being in the business and being that he just was the executor to his parents' estates, literally, we went down to his office, and he was just, all right, hon, he's like literally printing out beneficiary forms. Here, we got to change yours to the kids. We got to add the kids to mine. And ironic enough, our 20-year-old, she was a COVID grad through school or through high school, so she did Georgia State online. Mm-hmm. And then my closing attorney, who I work with all the time, he had called, hey, does Annika want to come and work at the law firm over the summer? So she did. And while she was there, she updated wills. So she, Mom and Dad, let me update your will. So she updated our will, and who knew that the ink wasn't even wet and we would need it. Wow. So literally told the kids in October when we got the final diagnosis and that it was terminal, and that at that point there was nothing they could do. I mean, we're going to start chemo, but we don't even know where it's coming from. They never found out where it was coming from. And it just spread like wildfire. And my husband was so courageous through it. He kept me strong. I would be the one like, what am I going to do? Here I'm usually so, strong, but I'm very emotional too. And you go through the anger. But one day when I was able to do a quick run, and I would just run so fast. And I looked up in the sky, and there was a huge spread eagle. Wow. And I knew, because at Grandma's funeral, we played on Eagle's Wings, and I just knew it. I was like, okay, God. And so I said them to my oldest daughter, and she was just, don't talk like that. They were so upset that, why are you like, Mom, no, there's got to be something. And so he did, literally 2 rounds of chemo, and it put him in the hospital with blood clots. And so we ended up doing home health hospice the middle of December last year, and then he passed on February 14th, which was actually, though, probably about 6 weeks longer than what we thought. So at least my family got to come down. And, last year when we had that snowstorm, Martin Luther King weekend, all my family from New York came down, and they were going to sightsee everything in Atlanta. And nope. What happened? They had to sit there, and my husband loves cards. He plays poker. So he got to deal the cards the whole day with the snowstorm. And I had all
family.
this food, so we just, we had a
nice.
blast. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So this year, it's unbelievable how I said after January 1st, prior to like Christmas and all the first, it was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And honestly, you get this grace, and I'm just trying to be more of telling my story, and that, I'm not the only one. Like I said, actually I didn't say, but last night I was at dinner and there were 3 women that were divorced, and the pain for that. I've also met with other women who I was married 32 years, and they were married, 32, 34, 30, and divorced out of the blue, and they're just like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm trying to tell them, like, I would tell any young girl, have yourself your own thing. Like, make sure that you can do it all. I was a mom, or am a mom, a grandma, a daughter, a sister, an employee. That's right, a wife. I took care of my husband, literally slept on the couch. You wouldn't believe the strength that God gives you, to do all this. And yeah, I mean, as long as I'm on this side of the dirt, I said, I'm going to keep going, and I know that Bob keeps putting things in front of me if I'm not sure about something. But yeah, I'm so glad that he was an insurance agent and had everything in order for me.
Yes, thank
because
you.
I had insurance money, so I had,
You made sure you guys were all taken care of.
Yeah, and that does make it easier, because then when you are trying to venture out to what am I going to do, I can't afford to say, well, hey, interest rates doubled. Guess what? I'm still going to be okay because I had a huge business before, and I've got this to sustain me. So now I can get out there, reinvent myself to be, expanding my network, and then be ready when the rates come down and the market picks up again, which it already has. So that's good.
Well, I do just want to say, because you mentioned networking. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your heartfelt story.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love seeing Bob's wedding ring around your
Yeah,
neck. And
yeah.
he's totally looking down
He
on us
is.
right now and listening to your
He
Powerhouse
is. He
story.
loves it. Yeah, yeah.
You and I have participated in networking groups
Yes.
collectively, and I see you online at various groups. We just mentioned the Chairman's Club. What is the value that you find in connectivity and putting yourself in different networking environments, not only for your business, but personally as well?
Oh my gosh. For me, it has been just everything. I joined Chamber 12 years ago, and I can remember a time when I would say, well, I'm not getting anything out of it. I just kept coming back to look up in the calling hours at my husband's funeral, and to see all the Chamber people there, my friends now, And since that time, yes, I have expanded. There's 5 different little towns in Gwinnett. I do all of those business associations: Duluth, Decula, Lawrenceville.
Peachtree Corners?
Nope, I don't do Peachy Corners. Oh my gosh, Swanee.
Swanee.
Yep. Try to keep within my little side over here. But there are people who go to one who might not go to the other, and the same way as Chairman's Club. I started that 3 years ago. Chairman's Club has been really cool because, it's like Mike and I were at the On Topic the other day, and to hear from the head of the U.S. Chamber of what's going on, and then our Atlanta area or Chamber rep. To me, I want to continue doing, hopefully I may do Leadership Gwinnett now, just I'm hearing more about it.
Yeah.
But just to keep relevant, to keep growing, I guess.
Absolutely. Now, you can lend anywhere, right? Because you and I had a discussion about
Yes.
possibly assisting with my home
Yes.
purchase. So really, if you had a friend that lived in Athens, obviously that's kind of far of a drive, but you would be able to assist. You're not
absolutely.
bound to just Gwinnett.
I
right?
am all Georgia licensed, and then we, Silverton, are licensed in 48 states.
Ooh.
So I have people who relocate, and I could get licensed myself in these other states, but we have a referral department that we have a very small handful of loan officers that literally don't go out the phone, we give it to them. So that's been wonderful. I've had so many people relocate and then move back, or hey, Katrina, who do you know? And we're able to take care of them as well. And the same underwriting staff that we have here in Atlanta underwrites all those loans. I love that. We have the same
Consistency.
in-town closing department.
Very nice.
Same thing.
How many mortgages would you say that you have?
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
Like thousands?
Maybe. Yeah.
Really?
It's been a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it a
Yeah.
rewarding feeling to help
Yes.
put somebody in their home?
Yes, it is. It is. I think, that shelter, right? I was just talking to, I'm trying to think. It was a young Last night at this event, and her daughter is just a little conflicted on what she should do in life. And that's why I said I would look at what are the necessities, okay? With my husband, insurance. I was in banking, back in the day. I would say, so my niece, for example, she's 22. She's in the Gwinnett County Police Academy. And that is amazing. People don't think about that, but you're always going to have job security.
Yes.
We
learned that with the pandemic, the essential,
that's right.
silos of what would stay afloat if the world closed down.
Right.
So I agree. That's great advice. Speaking of which, what do you do to stay sharp outside of, networking? Obviously, continuing education
Yes,
is
we do have that requirement.
Part of what you do professionally.
Yes.
But personally, because you're a lifelong learner, do you like to listen to podcasts? Do you enjoy reading? How do you stay sharp?
Oh, my gosh. So I wish I was a reader. I'm not a reader. I don't know. I guess just going to Barnes & Noble and seeing which book I should read. But honestly, every morning, and full disclosure, I listen to a podcast through the Bible. And so I really, it's a first reading from Old Testament and then something from New Testament and then a kind of a summary of it from someone who is educated, I should say. And then there's a saint of the day that we have for
Are
Catholics.
You Catholic? Okay.
Yeah. And let me tell you, those stories and what I guess I really let that speak to me of what am I supposed to do today. Sometimes there's nothing, but it's amazing how if you look back like 2 days previous and you'll say, wow, that did happen. And then, I try to always learning, like going to these chamber events and Chairman's Club, and I'm going to the The Glow events on topic.
For fantastic powerhouse speakers, by the way.
Yes,
at that Glow
yes. I'm very excited about that. So, you have to, constantly get out there and look at things. And then, too, I just started watching some podcasts. So I'm watching The Queen. So trying to actually, history and learn, how did we get here, because that'll kind of give us an idea of where we're supposed to go to. Why am I born at this time period?
One of my favorite podcasts that you might enjoy because they're very just short. It's called Optimal Living Daily.
Okay,
and it's always very positive, obviously optimistic.
Yeah,
it's kind of a minimalist podcast, but they're 12 to 15 minutes. I listen to probably 3 or 4 a day, and it's always a great story. And I can usually apply something that I've learned almost instantaneously.
Right. Yeah.
Optimal Living Daily. No, they didn't pay me to say that, but they can one day. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Katrina, what are some, you were a business owner, you're a mother, you're a wife, you worked on this farm. What are some elements that you would like to instill to our listeners in order to kind of achieve the success that you have had over the years?
I think I love the Nike phrase, just do it, right?
Just do it.
Because seriously, there's some people, I did this thing and it didn't work. I'm just a firm believer that if you're putting in the honest effort in something, then the thing that you're not putting the effort in might be the thing that actually works, but it doesn't matter because you're still putting it in. And I hate to say it, but I'm not really a huge planner with annual plans or a New Year's resolutions and all that. I just think that every single day to really put a lot of hats out. I do so many things, whether it's keeping in contact with my current database to asking advice too. Like I have an assistant who is fabulous with all the behind the scenes stuff. And so I lean on her a lot, So I think, yes, not thinking that you know it all and not trying to, as Steve Jobs, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Apple, the computer was already there. Just how can you make it better?
Right.
So I'm not afraid to listen to people and you just have to just keep moving.
I like it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Keep pressing on.
Yep.
What would you say one of the most challenging things that you have experienced in juggling all of the balls that are continuously up in the air has been for you over the years?
Gosh, so the mortgage meltdown was pretty hard. We actually had to move out of our house and downsize just for about 8 months to keep things afloat. That was hard because I had been licensed as a mortgage broker for 15 years, and then all of a sudden we have to become licensed like we've never been. And so to have to go back to school, so to speak, and to have to sit there and do testing again, that scared the heck out of me. I never sweat so much.
Yeah. But you're good at math.
Yeah, but it was like, it's the laws. That's what was crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a recession in 1992. I was like 6 years old then, so I didn't, I guess, really feel that or understand the impact. And I do recall I lived through one in 2008, and some would say that we're experiencing one now. That's really interesting, the cadence of years in between each of these recessions.
It is.
What's your thoughts behind that?
I'm so glad that we're in Georgia. I'm serious. We are such a pro-business state. We have businesses relocating here. Gwinnett County is amazing. We have, almost 1 million people. So for me personally, I'm just going to dig into, luckily through Chairman's Club, I've been able to meet the president of GGC. So we have our colleges here. We have GGC, Gwinnett Tech, and PCOM.
Jan Joseph?
Yeah. So I've reached out to them of how, just give me a small space. Can I come in and educate people on what's a credit? What do I need? And then also with the hospital system. So being able to thank Jay from Northside Gwinnett that they took such good care of my husband on Thanksgiving last year. I don't drive past that hospital and have a negative thought. I'm so happy. So to offer to them. So there's a lot of people out there. We need to just be there, be a resource, and use our what we know, our education to educate.
I do just have to, because you're a very humble woman, so I'm going to plug you. Katrina, one thing that stood out to me is you're very authentic. So when you came and you appeared on Gary Z's show, Simon Says Let's Talk Business 2.0, plug for Gary.
Yep.
I recognized that you were about the education piece first. Now, you made mention that you don't consider it selling, you're presenting. And that is exactly what you did. You presented all the information, even some that I had no idea about, like the credits for remodeling within your home, etc. So you're just very good at presenting that to people. So if anybody wants to learn more about mortgages and kind of deep dive with Katrina, she does host a show here on Gwinnett Business Radio, and it is called More Than Mortgages.
Yes.
With Katrina, I encourage you to give it a listen.
Thank you.
Katrina, I've had so much fun getting to know you today.
Thank you.
In more depth, shall I say.
Yes.
And I look forward to continuing to grow our deep relationship. If somebody wanted to find you and talk about lending, how could they do so?
So I would say, number one, my cell phone, it's got a lot of 8s, but it's 678-778-6858. I know, 678-778-6858. And then my email, Katrina, like the hurricane, .Lucisano, which is Lucisano, at silvertonmortgage.com. And I'm on all social media as well.
Very nice. That would have been an awesome name for like a running jersey for you.
Yeah.
Tornado. Just like the tornado.
Yep.
Katrina, thank you so much for joining us today on Celebrating Powerhouse Women. You truly exude all of the qualities of being a powerhouse.
Thank you.
For all of you listening out there, we are live on Fridays at 11:30 a.m. and you can listen on businessradiox.com. But you can also just download Celebrating Powerhouse Women wherever you listen to your podcasts. I listen on iTunes. Where do you listen, Katrina?
I follow you, and then, so it would be any time that you post it, then I listen.
Okay, that's our website.
And then my own. Yeah,
Yay!
but I do.
We like to drive traffic to our website.
Yes.
You guys, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Amanda Marmolejo, Marmolejo. And for our producer, Mike, I've been your host today, and this is Celebrating Powerhouse Women on Business Radio X.